to the republic for which it stands,
one nation, under God,
indivisible,
with liberty and justice for all.
Guns, self-defense, concealed carry. This is the Patriot Defense Podcast. From the war room in Idaho's high desert, here's your host, Todd Eccles.
And I am back. This time it is very, very, very early Monday morning. Let me look here. There we go. It's 4:15 a.m. Monday morning, and I am here. I am tucked away in the war room somewhere in the high desert of southern Idaho. And it's early because the weekend kind of got away from me. I got busy doing family things, and I did not want to miss it again like I did last weekend. Easter, full of all kinds of stuff, and I just didn't get around to it, and I need to be better about that. But here we go. I figured I got a lot going on today, but I figured, you know what? I'm not doing anything at 4 o'clock in the morning. In fact, I kind of get up early anyhow. I'm pretty in my family, they make fun of me because I kind of go to bed early too, but I get up early, so I figured, you know what, there's no interruptions, I can't do anything outside, so I might as well just get in here and get this podcast done when I don't have anything else going on. So here I am. You guys are going to be listening to this, pulling this up this afternoon, and you're going to be going, oh my God, Todd was up at 4 o'clock in the morning, but that's not. It's not very strange for me to be up this early. So lots going on. The weather has changed. Spring is here. And I know I always start the podcast off with the weather, but spring is here, man. And I'm starting to feel it. It's getting warmer. It's getting nicer on the range. The classes are starting to happen. It's pretty awesome. This week, I was just sitting down thinking about this last night. This week has been Ladies' Week here at this last week has been Ladies' Week here at the Patriot Defense Range. Not because I set it up that way, but tons and tons of women are coming in taking classes. I've had a couple of women's group classes. I've had my shooting, my women's shooting academy. I had a bunch of private classes that women set up for this week, and it's good. It's good to see the ladies out there. Women have been going strong in the firearms world, wanting to learn how to shoot. Just huge for at least for the last about 3 years. In fact, I want to venture to say that I have more women than I do men actually coming and taking classes from me, which is fantastic. And it's. With ladies, I see lots of firearms, and when they first started showing up, I would see, when the women first started, gaining this interest and gaining this foothold and interest in wanting to learn how to use guns for self-defense. I started seeing all the colored guns, the pink ones and the blue ones, and they're typically your lower end, lower quality firearms that were made to attract women, right? I mean, they were made into fancy colors. Now what am I seeing? Well, that didn't last for very long, but now I'm seeing serious guns, quality firearms. I'm not seeing the pink guns anymore. I'm not seeing the blue guns or the purple guns anymore, which is, excuse me, got a frog in my throat today, but which is great. Really quality firearms. I mean, these women are going out and they are doing their research, and they're buying good quality firearms. One of the ones that came through this week that I hadn't had a chance to see yet, I know I've talked about it on a previous podcast, is the Walther PDP-F, and the F stands for female. So that would be the version of the PDP that was made for women. And I know that some women took offense to that, and I don't know why they got to try to make it different guns for us, and it's like they're talking down to us, and this is a phenomenal firearm. It's the first time I got my hands on it. The length of pull is a lot shorter. It's great. I know this particular student who had it, she had smaller hands, and it's not really a small gun. It's just that the grip is contoured differently. It's got a shorter length of pull, and it shoots just as good as the first Walther PDP. This is just made, the grip is a little different, so it's made to fit a woman's hands, smaller hands a lot better. And it's a shooter, man. I know The woman that shot it, she was shooting fantastic with it. It fit her hands really good. She had expressed that in the past she had only shot her husband's Glocks and some other guns that he'd had, and they just didn't fit her hand, and she didn't like the triggers, and it just didn't feel right. And this gun just melted into her hand perfectly. So I tell you what, if I'd even shoot that gun, to be honest with you. I mean, it felt pretty good. It was a little small for my gargantuan hands, but it felt pretty good. But if you've got a girlfriend or a lady in your life that is looking for a firearm, I honestly don't think they could go wrong with the Walther PDP F. Go check it out. Like I said, it's the first one I've seen come through class. I was pretty impressed with it. Another gun that came through class that I've been anxious to see. I've had really good luck with my I'll say Walther. No, I've had really good luck with my Taurus TX22. Love that. I talk about that probably almost every podcast. Love that firearm. It's just almost malfunction free. I mean, the thing just runs and runs and runs. And they just came out recently this year with the compact or subcompact. I don't know. I think they're calling it a compact, a smaller version of that. And I was just a little, kind of like, I wonder how that's going to run. I mean, you start getting a stiffer recoil spring, and you're still asking that little 22 round to do a lot, right? There's a lady in my women's shooting academy who brought it in. She bought one. She hadn't shot it. She brought it in and shot the heck out of it. She shot probably at least 100 rounds, if not more, through it. Not one malfunction. Thing just functioned flawlessly. And a pretty cool little gun. In fact, it's cut for an optic. It's cut for a red dot. And that would be something to see right there. So if you put a red dot on that gun, is it still going to function as flawlessly as it did before? You add a little more weight to it, what's going to happen? So that's kind of what I would like to see. And I was encouraging her to go buy a red dot, go buy an optic for that and stick on there. Let's see how the thing runs with an optic. But the trigger is still the same. Still got a fantastic trigger. Still feels really good in the hand. Phenomenal firearm. In fact, I'll probably pick up one of those compact models in the future. Just because I just super impressed with that 22. So you can't go wrong. And I wish I was getting some kind of kickback, right, off of advertising it. But you can't go wrong with the Taurus TX22. What else did I have go on this week? I have a group. It was a mother-in-law and her daughter-in-laws. They've scheduled classes every month for the next I think 6 or 7 months, and they showed up. And today there was yesterday actually was their third class, so their third month doing this, and we had a great time there. Taking instruction very well, learning that trigger press really well. We even started working on the draw. And so they were learning how to draw and the draw strokes. And I tell you what a fun group. And if they're listening, and I don't know if they are, but what a fun group they are. And they'll know who I'm talking about. We call them the Staley girls, right? The Staley group. Fantastic set of students there, and we had a great time. And it's interesting. And I've mentioned this in the past, and I was actually just talking with another student about the female student about this earlier this week. Women, and nothing against you men, right? But women, they're so much different. They're so different when you go to instruct them. They take instruction better, and they tend to put it into play quicker and more appropriately, and there's no machismo there to get in the way, and they pick up on things a lot quicker. And like I said, I'm not picking on the men. I mean, because I've got a men's group that I absolutely have a great time with. But it's just different. And as an instructor, you have to teach differently as well. So kind of learned that over the last 10 years or so. Okay, I kind of trying to be organized here since I missed a week. I kind of there's been a lot that has happened. We've had Oh, where are we talking about? We've had the shooting. We've had the shooting in Nashville. We had the Louisville shooting, right? And these shootings, they always tend to come on the heels of Biden or someone calling for more gun control, calling for this, calling for that, and then we have these shootings. So I'll let you put that together however you want to put it together. I know how I put it together, and I've dedicated entire shows telling people exactly how I think that works out. But we look this and we look at this, and I've seen the clips, and I don't have that specific audio clip in front of me because I forgot to look it up. But they call for gun control before, and then these things happen, and then they call for gun control afterwards. We need to enforce laws, and these are the laws that we need to enforce. Well, let's boil it down. None of the laws that they want to put into place that they call for after these shootings would have stopped the shooter. These are, these last shooters, they got the guns legally. And none of these laws that they have in place would affect the shooters. Guess who they would affect? They would affect us, everyday, ordinary citizens, law-abiding citizens. That's who these gun laws would affect, and that's who they want them to affect. I hate to say it, but dead bodies are good for them, and this kind of stuff is going to keep happening, right, until they get their way, or at least that's what they tell us. Everyone is focusing on like this Nashville shooting, right? And it was a transgender individual that went into a Christian school, and that's all I heard for the last 2 weeks. Transgender, going into a Christian school. They were targeting Christians. They were doing this. They were doing that. You know what? I didn't post this on social media. I didn't post about all this because it just, we all have our own opinions, and I guess, frankly, you're going to hear mine. This was a mentally disturbed individual. They always are mentally disturbed individuals. They have mental health problems that did this. That's what this is. And the way that they want to grab this, right, the right and the left, they want to grab these, and they want to try and politicize them. These are mental health issues, right? We come from, in fact, look at the shooting in Louisville, right? This guy was in his 20s. He was working at a bank. He found out that in about 3 days, how the grapevine at work, works out. I heard this, you heard that. Well, this gentleman found out that in 3 days he was going to be fired. He was going to lose his job, and he became mentally unhinged. Well, before that, friends said that he had struggled with thoughts of suicide and depression, right? He had mental health problems. And then all of a sudden he hears he's going to be fired, and he can't handle that. He can't handle that setback in his life. No, that's a big deal. You find out you're going to get fired. I totally get it. I totally understand it. That will rock your world. But he didn't handle it appropriately. What he did is he went and got a gun, walked in and killed. I don't even know the body count, but he walked in and he started shooting people. This comes from, and I'm going to sound really old, and if you hear some noise in the background, it's because my dog is in here. And she's chewing on her chew toy. So anyhow, I look at the fact that this individual came from a generation, and I hate to pick on generation. I sound so old, but it's true. They came from a generation that everybody always wins. Everyone always wins, and there's nothing you can do wrong. It doesn't matter how hard you work or how hard you didn't work. Everybody gets a trophy, right? I would imagine this individual wasn't used to not getting their way, wasn't used to having a failure in their life. Everyone has failures in your life, and what counts is how you deal with that failure, right? This individual dealt with this failure very, not the right way. You got to think about it. I look back at my kids, right? Because that I have a couple daughters that are older than that individual, and so I understand And I know the generation that this shooter came from. And it's very interesting as a parent. I think back of, when I was a kid and I was in school, for example, and I didn't turn my work in, right? Guess what? I didn't get a grade on it. I got a big fat 0. And if it wasn't in, if I didn't turn my work in, my homework in, by the time that it was due, I got a big fat 0. I couldn't make it up. It is what it is. That's what I got. That's what I earned, right? Right? I reaped the fruits of my labor, right? And if that was a 0, it was a 0. Well, nowadays, and even when my kids were younger, they're like all kids, right? And they didn't turn a little homework in. Well, it gets to a point where they would look at me and laugh and just smile, and they're like, "It doesn't matter when I turn it in, Dad, because if I don't turn it in, they're gonna keep asking for it, even though I'm past the deadline. I'm gonna turn it in. They're gonna grade it, and I'm gonna get full credit." So there you go. There was no there was nothing bad. There was no consequences for not doing things, right? And I used to tell my kids all the time, I was like, well, it's not going to work that way in the workplace. Like, you're going to have failure and you're going to have some disappointments. And I don't know why. Well, I do know why. I don't know why the teachers are doing this, right? I don't know why the education system is allowing this, because they're just training you up to live in some world that's not the real world. And then you get situations like this: kids who weren't used to failure, kids that are used to second, third, fourth, fifth, and sixth chances, kids that have grown up without consequences. Now we can look at the root of this, and we can, this is just me delving down into my brain, my thoughts on this. And you can say, well, the education system is run by the state. It's got a lot of government interference in it. They want the money, and so they are programmed to just pass a kid, because that's how they get their money. They can't fail anyone. We can't leave anyone behind. The numbers got to look good, so they're pushed just to keep giving them chance after chance after chance after chance, which in turn, put on my tinfoil hat, which in turn, does that raise them up to think that, raise them up to think that, they are untouchable, that there is no consequences, that they can do what they want? And is that what the government wants? Because they know that in turn that's going to breed this world of depression, this world of mental health problems. They want to tear apart the family. And I'm just rambling at this point, folks, and I know it just sounds absolutely horrible, but to me, it just seems like that's what is going on here. We talk about it all being this giant plan and just a cog in the works, or just another cog in the gear in the whole plan. And I just think that's all it is. It's they just want to tear us down. They want to control us. They want the firearms. They want us to be solely dependent upon them, and they're going to hand us whatever we need to do so. And if that's a gun, great. If that's drugs, great. If that's in keeping us depressed and encouraging certain people, certain broken individuals to go out and commit these heinous acts so they can get through what they want to get through and put in place the laws that they want to put into place, I think they're going to. And, I was looking on YouTube the other day, and there's actually a story out of Florida that says it best. I'll go ahead and play this, and then we will discuss it.
I know each of you in the media here and viewers out there probably heard us in law enforcement or even in community events talk about what is the problem. And I'm going to go ahead and address the first thing that I know it's going to come up. Because there are individuals out there viewing, and to include some of you media, that want to blame the one thing that has no ability or the capacity to commit the crime itself. And that's the gun. These individuals committed the crime.
Sheriff, you mentioned the gun. Do we know how the suspect got a hold of the weapon?
Car burglaries. Yeah. Ain't that right? All the gun laws we got in place didn't prevent it, did it? Neither will any new ones. Because here's the fact. The bad guy is going to get a gun no matter what law you have put in place. These juveniles shouldn't even possess a handgun. But they did. And I'll go back to you. Add your question. A simple burglary, as some people will say, but I don't consider anything simple when it comes to a burglary. The law allows me, I'll plaster their face up on this page, up on my page, up on media. I will hand it out if the law allows me, because parents have the right to know who their kids are hanging out with and preventing this.
So there you go, straight from Florida. And what he's referring to is a case, and I don't have the full details of the case here, of a 12-year-old and a 17-year-old are convicted of a triple murder. A triple murder. A 12-year-old and a 17-year-old. Are you kidding me? That is absolutely ridiculous. But he came right out, and you know, kudos to the sheriff. He said what I've said. He said what probably what you have said. He said what all gun control, or not gun control, but gun advocates, firearm enthusiasts, supporters of the Second Amendment have said. And you're starting to hear this more and more from these sheriffs. You're starting to hear this more and more from some of these elected officials. It's not the firearm. It's not the firearm. You're going to blame the firearm. Look at this, a 12-year-old and a 17-year-old. You can blame the parents, right? You can blame the parents, but not always. It's not always the parents' problems too. Let's blame society. Let's blame the society. Let's blame the way they're raised. Let's blame the lockdowns. Let's blame mental health. I mean, let's blame drugs, right? The world that they live in, the world that the government has created for them. We can blame that. We can look to those, not the gun. The gun didn't just knock on their door one day and said, "Here I am. Pick me up, put me in your hand, and take me out to commit a triple murder," right? These new gun laws that they want to put into place wouldn't have stopped any of this, right? These people stole guns. Guess what? They were already committing crimes before they committed this crime. We need to enforce crimes. We need to enforce crimes. We need to enforce penalties on crimes. We need to, there's states, and I mentioned it before, that they are getting criminals are committing these crimes, and they're going into jail, and they know that they're going to be back out in like six or 8 hours, right? To just continue doing what they do because we don't enforce the laws that we already have. And he said it is not the gun, and he came right out of the gate with that. It is not the gun's fault. It is these kids' fault. It is the world that they're raised in. It is, other numerous things that have led up to this, not the firearm. The firearm didn't knock on their door and say, "Use me to commit triple murder." They broke into a car and they stole a gun. And which leads me to also say that, if you're good, don't just keep your gun laying in your car. You need to lock your gun up if it's in your vehicle, and then attach the safe, right, to the seat. In fact, I don't know what time of day it was that they committed these car burglaries, but don't leave a gun in your vehicle overnight. Take that gun in, even locally here, as this world grows, as our community locally here grows. So many car burglaries, so many people getting their firearms stolen because they leave them in their vehicles unattended. Do not do that. Know where your gun is. Take it inside with you. And there was also another local story, and I don't have it right in front of me. I'm just kind of spitballing off the top of my head here. A local story of a local person who had his kids in the car. He stepped out of the vehicle for a minute, and one of the kids grabbed, was bored and doing what kids do, right? And they were young kids and little kids, and got into the glove compartment, found a gun, fired the gun, and killed. I don't know if it was themselves or one of them killed. One of the kids died from the gun that went off. Okay, don't leave your guns down to where your kids can access them. It's that's just common sense, people. Just common sense, and it's a horrible that is a horrible tragic story that happened just down the road from where I live, and it's just like I said, it's just horrible. But let's be responsible gun owners, and these things wouldn't happen. Okay, so let's jump off that for a minute. I got a little ranty there for a little bit. Let's talk about this. Let's talk about Kyle Rittenhouse. Okay, and I know this might stir up a little controversy with people. I got to pull up my phone here. There is a county in the state of Idaho. It says Bonneville County Republican Party to host Kyle Rittenhouse at their 2023 Lincoln Day Gala. So, a county in the state of Idaho has grabbed Kyle Rittenhouse and has hosted him to come and speak. And for just a little bit of money, through an auction, you can win a chance or you can buy time with Kyle Rittenhouse to go shooting with him on one of the local ranges. I'm not totally against Kyle Rittenhouse. Okay, but I'm not if you listen to the podcast, you know where I stand. If you listen to my radio show, you know where I stand on this. Kyle Rittenhouse defended himself. It was a clean defensive shoot as far as I was concerned. He had every right to defend himself, and I think everything worked out the way that it should. I'm not saying that he should be in prison or anything like that, because I don't believe that for one bit. I do believe that he shouldn't have been there and been put in that position by the adults in his life, by his parents who dropped him off, by the person who asked him to help defend the property. The kid was 17 years old. He was 17 years old. He should not have been put in a position like that. And, here we have this defensive shoot, right? He was able to defend himself, and he came out on top. Absolutely fantastic. He has to live with everything that went down, everything that happened. And I honestly think the way that they are parading him around, the way that they are trying to make money off of him, the Republican Party, the whoever, and granted he's making some money too, don't get me wrong, but I think the way they're parading him around, the way that they are holding him up as this Second Amendment messiah is absolutely disgusting. I see all the memes on Facebook, I see all the memes on social media. And it's just absolutely disgusting to me. I mean, it really is. They're running him around like they do that. I forget the kid from one of the school shootings who was anti-gun, right? They're running him around like they do that guy. And it's just horrible in my mind. It's just absolutely horrible. And the fact that we're going to look at this, like this kid, this guy now, and it was a good defensive shoot, but the fact that you're going to hold him up, and the Second Amendment society is going to hold him up as he is the end all be all, the face of our movement, is absolutely disgusting. Honestly, it is. That right there in my mind is you're just catering to the LARPers. You're catering to this, to that. I just think it's absolutely horrible, and I don't agree with it. And I know we did our radio show the other day, and we had a host that was filling in. The main guy on the show was filling in, and he was telling us all about it, and he got pretty excited. And I get it, I guess. If you support it, you support it. But he got pretty excited about it. And the fact that I looked at him and I was like, that's ridiculous. And who wants to go shoot with Kyle on the range? I don't know. I don't know, man. They're just holding that kid up like he's some kind of god. And I absolutely think it's disgusting. And I'm really tired of hearing about Kyle Rittenhouse. I really, really am. I'm really, really tired of hearing about Kyle Rittenhouse. His name just kind of disgusts me. It really does. Let's talk about this. So I have, for years, I've had lots of retired law enforcement. And then here in Idaho, we got lots of people that are moving in from out of state. This is going to be something for everyone to think about. I have had these retired law enforcement officers who can carry under, I think it's HR 218, 214, something like that. There's some bill that says if you are a retired law enforcement, you can carry in all states or most states or whatever it is, right? But you have to like qualify every year. And for years, I've had retired law enforcement guys call me and say, "Hey, can you do my qualification for me? Can you do this? Can you do that?" And I'm like, "I don't know if I can or not. I have no idea. You need to figure that out." And then they have moved up here from California, and they get a hold of Twin Falls County where we live, and they ask them, "Hey, what do I need to do? Can you guys qualify me?" And I think a lot of the times I hear back from these guys, the Twin has told them, "No, we will not do that," or "we cannot do that," or which leaves them to have to go clear back to the department that they retired from to get their, continuing qualification. Well, and no one will let me do it for them, and which I'll do if I'm allowed. Finally, I had a gentleman who went back and forth quite a bit. He called down to his old department in California and said, "Oh yeah, sure. As long as he's an NRA certified instructor, this is what the qualification is. And as long as he's willing to walk you through the qualification, time you, make sure that you pass, and sign these papers and put his NRA instructor number down and whatnot, you'll be good to go. You don't have to drive to California." So that was a first, right? So he showed up. And he sent me the qualification ahead of time. And let me see. I should have had it pulled up. Let me see if I can find this qual here. Where's it at? It's somewhere on here. And it was the qualification was kind of ridiculous, to be 100% honest with you. Let's see. Where's it at? Doom. Of course I can't find it when I need to. Oh, there it is. Okay, so this is out of California, and it's a backup, off-duty, retired weapon qualification standards. Now get this. If you're much into shooting, you'll understand what I'm getting at. It says qualifications to be completed unholstered, so no holster even, unholstered from a low ready position. So that means two hands on the gun. That means instead of pointing the gun, extending the firearm out and pointing at the target, the firearm is extended out, but it's lower than the target, right? So you just have to bring it up to the target. They have to go at 1 yard. They have to fire 3 rounds, weapon hand only, and they have to fire 3 rounds in 3 seconds. Okay. Then they have to do the same thing at 1 yard. They have to, with their support hand only, so their weak hand, fire 3 rounds in 3 seconds. Then at 3 yards, they have to fire 1 shot to the head, and they have to complete that in 2 seconds. And then they have to do that 2 times, right? And then at 3 yards, they have to fire 3 rounds in 3 seconds, and that's just hitting the chest area, the body area. In fact, they used like an IDPA type target, but they don't even say A zone, B zone, C zone. They don't even say that. They just have to hit the cardboard somewhere. And then at 5 yards, they have to fire 5 rounds in 4 seconds. It says qualification completed. Total rounds fired, 16 rounds. Score, 100% hits on the target in the time equals a pass. So it doesn't matter where they hit on the target. They just got to hit the cardboard target. And I know that for me, that's absolutely ridiculous, right? So they're doing that. And they're able to carry in way more states than what you can carry. With your concealed carry permit, right? Which is ridiculous because you take the concealed carry class and you have to fire 98 rounds. And yeah, granted, in the Idaho enhanced concealed carry permit class, we don't score the targets, right? We don't score the targets. We didn't score the targets on this really either, but we don't score the targets. But you are shooting in the enhanced permit class, you are shooting from a lot longer distance. You're firing more rounds, right? And then on this, you're doing very, very simple. They're firing 16 rounds, a lot closer. They're giving them way more time than they need to complete this. And with that little bit, right, they're able to carry in probably almost all 50 states or damn near all 50 states. And you are still restricted. I would say that you are getting better, better. And so when we shoot in our class, right, you have a huge cardboard backer, right, which is bigger than the IDPA target. But guess what? We're shooting at a regular piece of whatever size, a regular piece of paper that you use in like your computer printer. That's what we're shooting at. And most everyone is keeping all their shots on that piece of paper in that center mass size of an area. And these guys can qualify by hitting an IDPA target, which is probably 9 or 10 times the size of your piece of paper. They can hit wherever they want on that target, and they are passed. It passes them. It enables them to carry that gun way more places than you. Absolutely freaking ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous. That's what they think of you, right? That's what they think of you in general as a U.S. citizen, right? A common, ordinary U.S. citizen. They don't want you to have guns. They want to cut down on your rights. But if you were law enforcement, if you were members of the thin blue line, if you have that in your background, if you are the elite, and even though you're retired, you just got to do this really easy qualification, and you're good to go. Now, it makes me wonder, and I don't know this for sure, if this qualification is the same across the board. I should do a little research and find out for every department. But I know that this one was absolutely ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous. I go to classes and do way harder stuff than this. I'm going to put it this way: in the permit class you take from us, you do way harder stuff than this. In fact, in the permit class, in the state requirements for the permit class, it doesn't even, you don't have to score your target. You don't have to hang on a minute. Sorry about that. You don't have to score on the target. You don't even have to shoot certain drills, right? You just have to shoot, right? In Patriot Defense, in our class, right, when you take that permit class from us, we make sure you're going to learn something with every round fired. We get you further away. It don't even state the distance, right? But you need to understand you are shooting better, and you are shooting more, and you are shooting more difficult challenges than this retired officer is, and he has more rights than you. Absolutely ridiculous to me. That's what they think of you. That's what they think of you. So, I mean, and it shows because just not too long ago, they've changed now, but not too long ago in Idaho, if you were an elected official of any kind, it could be the county coroner. If you were an elected official, you could carry concealed in this state, right, without having a permit. And granted, we got a constitutional carry now, so that it's null and void. But back in the day, but when we didn't have that, you were able to do that if you were an elected official. You didn't have to go take a class. You didn't have to prove yourself. You didn't have to do anything like, oh, yeah, here's your gun. You got a permit. You're good to go, right? Because those elected officials and law enforcement, right, they are a member of an elite society that you are not part of. You are not worth it. You are not worth it, but they are. So, I don't know. I just thought that was funny. I really did. I thought that was very, very, very entertaining to me, and just absolutely ridiculous. So just know that you as a citizen, right, if you come and you take the Idaho Enhanced Concealed Carry Permit class from Patriot Defense, you are going above and beyond what retired law enforcement officers have to do to keep their concealed carry permit. And guess what? They get way more luxuries and way more allowances than what you do. And as we bring this show to an end, I want to throw out, I'm going to have a, she doesn't know this yet because I haven't asked him. But you guys all remember Magnum. He's been on the show many a times. And if you've taken classes from me, He's also known as James. He went out and tried his hand at some USPSA the other day, some competition, and he's never done that before. And from what his text message that he sent me, he's had a great time at it. He had a great time. He said he learned a lot, and so I think that I'm going to try to get him on the podcast in the next couple weeks, and we're going to get his take in competition, and kind of see what he thinks. He's a pretty competitive dude, so this is his first run through with this kind of stuff. So it'd be interesting to kind of get his take and his thoughts and his feelings, and if he thinks competition is for everyone, or just kind of get some comparisons here. And I think I'm getting ready to lose James, though, because it's funny because anyone I know that has started doing like the USPSA matches or the IDPA or anything like that, once they start, they can't stop. So he gets busy doing that stuff. But I'll get a hold of him. I'll get him on the show, and we will see where that goes. But once again, thanks for your support. Thanks for listening to the Patriot Defense Podcast. Thank you for sticking with me when all of a sudden there's a weekend I don't get a podcast out. Sometimes that happens. Sometimes that's life. If you got any questions, you got any comments, you can call me. You can text me, area code 620-794-6223. That's area code 620-794-6223. I always appreciate feedback. I've got a bunch of stuff going on this weekend, but I will get another show brought out. I do have a big concealed carry permit class coming up on Saturday, and some private classes on Sunday, and another private class on Friday, and give me some more stuff to chat about. So if the weather's nice where you are, get out and enjoy yourself. Hit the range, throw some lead down range. It's always fun to do before it gets too hot and miserable to do so. And follow us on the social medias, on the Facebook, on the Instagram, on the TikTok, on the wherever you can find us. You can, whatever social media you're on, you can probably find us. Share this podcast with your family and your friends. I do appreciate it. I'll talk to you guys later. Bye.